everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be doing my April TBR. So, number one, my face is really red right now, and we're gonna ignore it. And also, my ear is blocked, so I'm not sure how loud or like I have a good idea, but like I'm not 100% sure, so the audio could be funky on this. So, April, it is the month of Ramadan. That's obviously the most important thing. And then it is also the Magical Readathon. Both are readathons that I will be participating in. Magical Readathon is created and hosted by G at Book Roast, and she has been doing this for years. I usually try and read every single prompt for the spring round, and then the autumn I pick and choose. I will be trying that again. I'll be going through my TBR in a minute. And then the other one is, of course, Ramathon, hosted by Covers with Cassidy, who I love. You might think that I'm going for the fantasy one, but no, I'm actually going on Team Sci-Fi, which is Team Ilma. And so the co-hosts for that one are Mel and Jade, and I'll leave them linked down below. So I'm very excited. I don't read a lot of sci-fi. My Ramathon TBR is going to be a bit like, I could read this, but like no definites. Lots of wiggle room. Yeah, so I don't read a lot of sci-fi. Basically, how I came to be on Team Sci-Fi is in Cassidy's Patreon Discord, they were chatting about Realmathon before it was like properly announced, and Mel was worried that people wouldn't want to join the sci-fi team because I feel like sci-fi is maybe underappreciated on BookTube. I say this as someone who reads basically no sci-fi. And so she was kind of worried that like nobody would join her team, and Cassidy basically was like to ask me to join her team and then reread the Murderbot Diary books, and I was like, I'm sold. I am sold. So that's why I'm here. One last ramble. I'm hoping to bring back my TBR game. I mean, I said that back in like November or something that I would bring it back, and I haven't. And the truth is, it's because I made a new board last year. Right before, like, I think around the time of April when my life slump started, and I've since lost the new board, and I don't want to make a new one because it takes so much effort. But I'm like, I'll be listening to a lot of audiobooks and stuff during April, so I'm like, April's probably a good month to make it, so maybe next month you might see a new TBR game board. If you didn't know, or if you're new here, I play the Game of Life Adventures Edition, but like, whatever. So I usually go book clubs, video ideas, and then general, but for this one, because I have readathons, I'll go book clubs, video ideas, magical readathon, and then others, which is mostly sci-fi books that I might get to. So yeah, so book clubs 2, but only one of them is like probably gonna get read. We're just being honest here. So the first one I have here, and that is Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie, which is the second book in the first Law trilogy, and this is the next book club pick for the catch-up book club. And I have a feeling this one I'm probably actually not going to read until like the first or second week of May. I don't know when they're going to do the live show, so I'll probably read it, like, it'll be probably the first book I read in May, but if I have time for it, I might read it. Like, despite the fact they're pretty long and the text isn't like huge, they are pretty quick to read, so we'll see. And this one, it follows mainly 3 points of view, but we did have a couple of other smaller ones, and they follow Glokta, Giselle, and Logan. And Glokta is a torturer. He used to be kind of like the hero character, and then he got taken captive and he got tortured, and now he is a torturer. Giselle, I don't know. And he's like a fencer, but he's kind of pretty privileged, and he kind of gets everything handed to him, and so he's not putting full effort in, but there's a competition coming up and he wants to win. And then we follow Logan, who is from a different country that this country that the rest of them are living in kind of wars with, and he no longer really affiliates with them, and he kind of has a bloody history. And the first book is really just getting to know the characters, getting to know their backstories, and then getting introduced to like the magic and the world, and kind of setting up the plot. And so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that there's actually going to be a plot in here. So I'm excited, but a little nervous. And as I said, this is like a tentative TBR pick. So then the other book club pick that I have is it A Promise of Blood, or The Promise of Blood, or is it just Promise of Blood? I don't know. Either way, it's by Brian McClellan, and it is the first book in the next series for Backlist Book Club, which is also run by Covers with Cassidy. And I'm actually a co-host for it, as well as Mel and Kaylee. And again, I'll leave them like down below. And I actually don't know what this series is about. Cassidy gifted it to me for Christmas, but I actually don't have it with me. It's at home. I know that it is flintlock fantasy. It is set during the French Revolution, or like, I guess, well, yeah, because like the king is dead. And yeah, that's like all I know, which is not, that's not a lot to go on. I remember reading the back and it kind of sounded a bit generic, but like I was intrigued. So yeah, that's all I can really say. I really don't know what this series is about. And we've definitely had mixed feelings about Backlist Book Club picks. I was very nervous at first when I was like, what the hell is a flintlock fantasy? But I've also learned that Temeraire is technically a flintlock fantasy, and I really enjoy that series. So I'm like, maybe. And they're set in like, I was about to say pretty similar time periods, but Temeraire is Napoleonic Wars, not like French Revolution, which is a couple decades later. So those are my 2 book club reads. And next we're going to go on to video ideas. Okay, so the angle might have changed because I was talking on the phone. Whoops. Anyway, so I was about to talk about video ideas, wasn't I? Yes. I'm not going to tell you what the video connection is because that kind of spoils the fun. The Collar Bound by Rebecca Zahavi. And this one, I don't really know what it's about. So a man marked by magic, a woman marked by her past. So I think 2 of them are kind of outcasts because she has this tattoo that I guess means that she's part of some sort of group or something, and she's an outcast because of this. And then the male character has a collar that marks him as a slave, and he might recognize her, but he doesn't know how. The next one is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. What connects these 2? And this also has the prequel inside, which I know that I should read the prequel first, so I'll do that. And then I have the audiobook for the rest. And this I got as a birthday present from Christy, I believe. Yes, I did. She hadn't even read it when she bought it for me, but I now know that she does love it, so, you know, that's great. But I know, see, this one I might technically be able to stretch for sci-fi because it's a dystopian, and dystopian is a subgenre of sci-fi. But I do know that this is I would say like maybe, since it's a dystopian and like, but it has magical like powers in here, like fantasy dystopian blend, which is technically a fantasy sci-fi blend, technically bonus points for me. Yeah, that's how this works, right? It follows Paige, and she is a clairvoyant, and clairvoyance is illegal, and she gets caught using her abilities, and then something happens. I think she's taken somewhere, and she learns a lot more, that there's a lot more to their world than they know. Everyone that talks about it cuts it off there because they're like, then like something happens and everything changes, and like, I'm not gonna tell you. I'm like, okay, I want to know though. So I'm gonna find out. So yes, and then the last book that I'm going to read is going to be We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. And this is one of the oldest books that I actually have on my physical TBR. I bought it a while ago. I'm gonna guess 2021. I'm pretty good for clearing stuff off my TBR, so I know it's not the longest book to ever be on a TBR, but it's pretty long for me. This is a YA fantasy which follows 2 characters, a prince who is also an assassin, and he doesn't like being an assassin, and then also Zafira, and she is like a hunter, and she like hunts food for her village and all of that, but nobody knows that she is the one doing it because she's a woman. And then I think both of them are sent on a similar quest and their paths cross. So yes, so that is a video that will be coming out sometime in April. I'll probably, see, I'm kind of thinking that I'll probably stretch these books throughout the month, because like if I'm reading a lot of sci-fi, I might want some like fantasy to break it up. But I do have the audiobook for the Bone Season, and I'm pretty sure it expires within like the first week, so this will probably be read pretty early in the month. But the rest, we'll see. I feel like these are a good selection because like this is pretty short, and it's also fantasy to break up some of the sci-fi. This, like, it's pretty long, like it's like 500 pages, but it's a YA, so even though it's long, which will get me like page points, it should be quick because it's a YA. And the Bone Season, I have the audiobook for, so like, overthinking. That's like the one proper vlog that I have, and then the other vlogs that I will have will all be like sci-fi taste tests. So if you don't know, I do like genre taste tests. I have a whole playlist, and in that I have a horror taste test, a mystery thriller taste test. I combine those two. A middle grade taste test, I have a dark romance, a contemporary romance, and a fantasy romance. I think that's all. And I'm going to do at least 2 sci-fi taste tests during the month. And I'm going to be trying kind of like different subgenres of sci-fi to kind of see, because I don't read a lot. I'll probably basically do like half the month and half the month. We also do a separate reading vlog for the Peace Talks weekend, which I think is like the 15th and 16th or something. I can't remember. But in that weekend, I'm probably going to reread the Murderbot Diary books. So if you want a vlog of me squealing over them, stay tuned. I didn't tell you what Murderbot is about because I just like assume that you know what Murderbot is about if you're on my channel, because it was basically what I only talked about last year. So yeah, but I'll talk about it more in a minute when I get back to it. Now on to magical readathon. I literally have a piece of paper. So first one is alchemy, and for that class you need to read a book with a medal in the cover, and for this I'm going to be reading Golden Enclaves by Naomi Novik. And so this is a fantasy. I know I said I was going to read a lot of sci-fi. I lied. This one I actually wasn't. I was really struggling with this prompt because I was like, there's nothing that I want to read that has a medal in the title. And then all of the ones that people were recommending online, like Spinning Silver, I've already read, and I was like, really like, I was like, okay, I have nothing that I'm going to read. And like I wasn't planning on reading Golden Enclaves because I did actually have reserved the audiobook for my library, but I wasn't supposed to get that until the end of May. And then like 3-4 days ago I got an email saying that it had come through like super early, so I'll be able to read that in a month and I'll be able to finish off a series. So this series follows Elle. Magical children kind of attract these monsters called mals. And so all of these children get put into this magical school, which a lot of people do not survive. But it gives them their best chance of surviving on the outside. And Elle has an affinity towards dark magic, but she doesn't want to use dark magic, but she does have a natural affinity towards it. And then, so she kind of draws the attention of the school's golden boy, Orion, is it? And he is like everyone's hero, and he's kind of suspicious of her, and eventually they kind of form this friendship and they kind of work together to help the school. And it's the final book. The way the last one ended, I'm still mad at my cousin because I heard everyone say, oh, what a cliffhanger that one ended on. I was like, oh wow. And I was talking to my cousin about this. I was like, I heard, because like she had read it. I was like, I heard it ends on a really big cliffhanger. I'm like, which like, because like I was putting it off because I didn't want to read it and then have to wait to read the third book. And she's like, no, it doesn't really. And then I read it and I was like, I will kill you. And she was like, yeah, I wanted you to be surprised by it. Cruel. So then the next one is animal studies. Flip a coin, heads nonfiction, tails fiction. So we're gonna just flip a coin on this because I don't have any coins lying around. Okay, preparing to flip. Oh, it's already flipping. It's already flipping. Heads. Heads nonfiction. Okay. This, I didn't actually think of anything that I wanted to read if I got a nonfiction, so that was smart of me. Luckily for me, nonfiction is also the genre of ILM, so it's fine. I'll make it work. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not even gonna make plans because I'm gonna just go on SCRIBD and pick one. Next one is match clothes to cover. I'm wearing grey. I'm not gonna lie, I'm in pajama shorts, which you don't need to see, and then my top underneath is white, so very boring colors. Let me see, what do I have on my list? Murderbot might fit because all of those covers are pretty grey. So I'll just put Murderbot. So Murderbot follows a Murderbot. So they've hacked their governor module, so they are now a rogue unit, and instead of like fleeing, they have decided to spend their time watching soap operas and like half-assing their job basically. And then this crew that they are out on this survey with gets attacked, and Murderbot is basically on the job. And I love this series a lot. I really love this series. So I'm going to reread all 6 of them. As I said, all of those covers are pretty grey, so I'm going to just say that I'm good there. So then the next one is astronomy, 2-letter E's in the cover, in the title. And for this, I'm going to read Sleeping Giants by Sylvian Nouvelle. Yes, and this I have as an ebook from my library. And this one I believe is told in mixed media. I think it might be interviews. I believe it follows maybe a couple of different characters, but I think like one of the main characters anyway is this girl who, when she was young, like fell into this like hand, and then like years later she is part of the crew that is like researching into this because like it's kind of maybe like first contact with aliens. Yeah, so this is one of the sci-fis that I want to read because I feel like, because like it's mixed media, it's set on Earth, and like maybe like first contact with aliens kind of a thing. So I'm like, I feel like that, you know, kind of ticks a few like subgenre boxes and trope boxes, you know? So then the next one is Conjuration, and this is a friend rec. And for this, I'm going with We Hunt the Flame by Hasfa Faisal. And the whole reason I picked this book up is because of Nat from Nerdy Nat Reads, and because she absolutely adores this series. I'll leave her link down below. Yes, I've already told you about this, so we're not going to dwell on it. Then next, we have Demonology. And this one, book compared to a favorite of yours. And for this, I'm going to go with Colorbound. Again, I've already told you about this. And so this one, on the back of it, it's compared to The Poppy War, which I gave all of those 4 stars. And then S.H. Ackworthy's City of Brass, which I gave the first one 4 stars, but I gave the second and third one 5 stars. And also on Goodreads, it's compared to A Darker Shade of Magic by B. Schwab, which I've given all of those 5 stars to. So it's compared to a lot of things I love. So hopefully that builds well for it. I'm really like overdoing it. Like, how am I supposed to read all these books? We have Elemental Studies, and we have flowers on the cover. And for this, I'm going with The Bone Season, and it's a flower on the cover. So yeah, again, already spoken about this. The next one I need your help with because I'm really annoyed by this, because it's Spells and Incantations 389 to 415. That's such a specific number.
Okay, so I actually don't need your help anymore. Sorry. But I figured it out. So, I was currently thinking, I was like, what could I possibly read? And I was like, oh, maybe the next TBR book is between that. But I kind of had a feeling it wasn't. Because I knew the 6th book wasn't, because I had checked that, but I've actually now read the 6th book, so I was like, oh, I'll check the 7th. And the 7th is not. It's actually about 350, so it's short. But then I got thinking, because the 7th book is called Crucible of Gold. Gold is a metal. And so then I went and I checked the Golden Enclaves, and that is about 400. I mean, different editions vary, but it's between like 400 and 416 pages, which I know it's supposed to be 415, but I can go with the edition that's like 405 pages and say that I'm reading that because I'm listening to it as an audiobook. So I'm going to switch out some prompts. So basically, for the metal in the title, I'm going to do Crucible of Gold by Naomi Novik, which is the 7th book in the TBR series, which follows Captain Will Lawrence, and he is a Navy captain in the Napoleonic Wars, and then he gets a dragon egg, and it's about them bonding, basically. And then I've already told you about the Golden Enclaves, so I'm reading that for the page count one.
Next one is Read a Book with a Snack, or Start a Book with a Snack, I think it was. And again, I could read literally anything for this. Again, maybe a Murderbot book. Any of the other books I'm going to read will account for this. So we're not going to dwell on that. And then the next one is Inscription, and that is a book from your top shelf. And obviously, I only have one shelf here. And so basically any book that I picked could have fit for this. But I then thought back to my bookshelf at home, and I was kind of thinking, so like my top like the highest shelf that I have is all Cassandra Clare, which I've read all of those. And then the next one down, because I have 2 shelves, so I was like, okay, so then the next one down, they'd be pretty even, but one is slightly higher. So I thought of that one. And then one of them has like Lee Bardugo and Holly Black, which I've read all. But the other one is Ringe Pecco. And where the hell do I have it? Oh, I was writing on it. I'm going to read the next book in the Bone Witch series, which is The Shadow Glass. So this is the 2nd book in the Bone Witch series. It has been over a year since I read the first one, so I really need to read this. I'm currently making my way through Ringe Pecco's entire backlist, and I've been having a good time. Some I like more than others, definitely. This series follows T, and she is a bone witch, and so that means she can control the dead, and this is pretty frowned upon, and so she gets kind of like sent away to learn how to use her powers. And we're like flashing forward to the future where she's like telling her story, and she's kind of been like cast out by the other bone witches, and we don't really know why. So I'm intrigued to see why. Lore, which is a book with a map, and for this I'm going to be reading A Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan. I've already talked to you about this. The next one, okay, this one, I would appreciate it if you told me other books that fit for this, because the next one is Psionics and Divination, and the prompt is clouds on the cover. And the only book that I could find on my shelves with clouds on the cover was The Sword of Gaia. Which I do want to read this book, but it is very big and the writing is very small. And I do really want to read this also because Cassidy got it for me for my birthday last year, which my birthday is in May, and I still has not read this. So I do want to read this because I'll feel really bad if I get to my birthday this year and I haven't read a present from last year. And like also Relamathon, you do get bonus points for big books, so I'm like, maybe, but yeah, if there is other books that have clouds on the cover, please tell me. I believe we follow this entire family, and I think one of the main point of views anyway is this woman, and she used to live and fight for this country, and she kind of retired, and now she lives a very traditional lifestyle. And I believe the island that they're on is actually pretty separated from the rest of the world, so they don't really know what's going on. She has a family, and then war comes, and I think maybe her son ends up having to fight in this war, and then I think eventually she ends up kind of picking up her sword and joining in the fight. So yeah, I do want to read this, but it's so big, it is so heavy. So then the next one is Close Your Eyes and Shuffle, which I'm gonna just, so written down at the end, right down here, you can't see it, but I have a whole list of other books that I want to read in the month. So I'm going to just close my eyes, and with the pencil, I'm going to just stab down. So yeah, so let's go. Don't stab my finger like. Okay, alright, I did not land on a book. I am closest to a Murderbot book, but I feel like that's cheating. But also, is it cheating if I was the closest to it? I didn't land on it. I'll try one more time, and if it's a bad book, I'm going to just ignore it. Okay, alright. That time I landed on Gideon the Ninth. Do I want to read Gideon the Ninth? Yeah, I do. Alright, I suppose we'll go with that. Again, I think I actually have the audio for that I think is available on SCRIBD, so that works out. Alright, Gideon the Ninth. I literally only know the tagline that everyone uses, which is lesbian necromancers in space. That's all I know about this. Also a book that my cousin really wants me to read. I think she's read all 3 of the books that are out so far, and she's really enjoyed them. She's like, I have no idea what's happening, but I'm having a good time. So I'm intrigued. And then the last one is Shapeshifting, which is a wolf on the cover / in the title. I am thinking The Girl in Red by Christina Henry. As I said, I do want to make my way through Christina Henry's backlist, and this one is a Red Riding Hood retelling, and it does have a wolf on the cover. And yeah, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to read that. I think I might count as a hybrid genre because, again, I do think it's actually a dystopian, but it's like a horror dystopian. So I'm gonna have to do a bit of research in it to that, but I think I've heard it described that way, so we'll see. Those are like the 14 books I want to read. What am I doing? I have like other books that I want to read, / kind of back to like the sci-fi taste test. So alright, so I already talked about the Bone Season, Beyond the Flame, Collarbound, Shadowglass. Okay, first one that I see, Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. Again, this is one that Nat from Nerdy Nat Reads has definitely influenced me in reading, and it I don't really know the synopsis, but I do know that it's quite political. It is in space, and also I think it has a pretty heavy romance. So again, quite different to like Sleeping Giants that I want to read. And the next one is First Sister. This one I remember Riley Marie talked about and raved about it. Again, no idea what it's about, but it has a really cool cover. And again, I do think this one is in space, and I think it's kind of a bit more technology based. And then the next one I actually own physically, I only bought it a couple of days ago, is This So You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone and Amal El Motar. I got it for a $5, so what can I say? And so this one, again, I think it might be set on Earth, but is time travel-y and kind of a bit more literary. So again, very different to the other sci-fis because I want to get a wide range. It is quite short, but I do know that it takes a while to read. Gideon the Ninth I've already talked about. Sleeping Giants I've already talked about. Then we have To Be Thought of Fortunate by Becky Chambers. Again, this is another novella. Don't really know what this is about, but Becky Chambers does very much cozy sci-fi and again in space. Then Murderbot I've already talked about. Before They Are Hanged we've already talked about. Promise of Blood we've already talked about. Golden Enclaves we've already talked about. Next we have Hench. I don't know who the author is, but this follows like, I think it's a hench woman who got injured and she's now out for revenge. Pretty sure it's based on Earth and it's kind of like grounded in reality, but it's like a superhero science fiction. Other one that I'm kind of interested in is Docile by James Para. So many of my friends love this book, and this is a dystopian, so again, different kind of subgenre. And then the last ones that I'm like, maybe, is a reread of Vicious and Vengeful, but I probably won't vlog them if I do reread them. So yes, because I forgot that they are technically sci-fi. So yes, so that took longer than I thought it would. Like, who do I think I am? But anyway, so those are all those books that I am intrigued about trying in the month of April. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.